Hi everyone, I'm meteorologist Valerie Mills. Thanks for logging on to My Fox Hurricane, where to wrap up September and start October, we're on a busy note across the Atlantic basin. We have yet a new named storm that brings our total for the season up to 11 named storms, 5 of which have become major hurricanes, and it's been an impactful season with 7 of those storms making landfall. We compare that to last year, where 20 named storms were able to develop, only 3 of which became major hurricanes and 7 in total hurricanes. So already we've had a lot more impact to land with all of the storms that have developed this season. As we check on what we're tracking out there as of the latest, we're still watching this system in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico. Odds kind of right around where they've been the last day or so, right around 40% chance for this to develop over the next 7 days. So this is really going to be slow development through the week. It's not really until the end of the week, but particularly this upcoming weekend, where we'll start to talk about this system being a little bit more organized and getting possibly into the Gulf of Mexico. We also, as of the latest this morning, now have Tropical Storm Kirk off the coast of Africa, and another wave that we're tracking there. You can kind of see they're right in the same area there, but an 80% chance for that wave just off the coast to develop over the next 7 days. As of the last hour or so, Isaac, now post-tropical, and we have a depression, Joyce. Both of those not going to be talking about too much longer. Both of those expected to stay out in the open waters, not making any impact to land. But as we zoom in on this system that we're watching, the Western Caribbean, Gulf of Mexico there. This one a little bit close to home. This is a very similar situation to what we've seen with some of these storms as they've been in this area. We have very deep, warm waters right around the Yucatan Channel, so that offers a lot of fuel as storms move over. So what we're talking about are conditions favorable for slow development as this area of kind of disorganized thunderstorms generally moves off to the west-northwest. So once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, at this point, there's quite a bit of spread as far as what we could see potentially happen. But I want to show you our exclusive Fox model and kind of what we're watching here. So we'll start by kind of focusing in on this area. Notice by about the middle of this week, this is paused here Wednesday morning, that's when we start to see something a little bit more impressive. The potential for some rotation starting to develop, and then watch as this kind of generally moves through the Western Caribbean. Then by the end of this week, particularly into the weekend, that's when we get something emerging into the Gulf of Mexico. With that, at this point, it kind of looks like models are trending a bit weaker, so we could be just talking about a sloppy system that gets into the Gulf of Mexico and causes quite a bit of rain. At this point, that is what we're looking at for the most likely odds, but of course, as we get closer to this, we'll have a better idea of what we're talking about as far as potential strength, track of the storm, because it's important to remember, until we have something developed, models have a really tough time kind of indicating how strong a system might be and the exact track it might take. So at this point, it's a watch and wait game over the next couple of days. So those along the Gulf Coast, gonna want to make sure you're keeping up with the forecast as we continue to watch this. As I mentioned, it's really not until Friday, Saturday where that system would emerge into the Gulf. And I want to kind of show you what our rainfall indications are showing for the next week. You can clearly see where the potential is for that system to kind of get into the central Gulf of Mexico and then kind of swing back some heavy rain, especially right for parts of the Tampa Bay area, central Florida. You can see kind of this orange color here. That's when we're talking the potential for 6 inches of rain. So that is something that we're going to be closely watching. We don't necessarily need more rain around here, but at this point, that's what we're watching for impacts here to our area. And as we check on the average date of each named storm, we're now on the K storm with Tropical Storm Kirk developing. That was on September 30th, and we typically don't see our K name form until October 2nd. So after kind of a slow start, a couple of our named storms a little bit behind schedule as far as the date we typically would see them, now things have sped right back up and we're a little bit ahead of schedule now as as we look at the start of October. So I'm going to show you Tropical Storm Kirk. That's the latest as of Monday morning. The 11 o'clock advisory now winds up to 50 miles per hour. This storm moving due west right now, about 12 miles per hour, but we are going to see that kind of curve off more northerly. By Wednesday, we're talking about a major hurricane, but at this point, notice we're well out into the open Atlantic. So we're not talking about any impacts to land at this point from Tropical Storm Kirk, and you can see all of the models keeping it well off the continental U.S. But regardless, we are going to be keeping a close eye on this storm and, of course, that area to watch in the Caribbean, the Gulf of Mexico. Here's a look at our named storms for this season. Next name on the list, if we see something develop with that Caribbean Gulf area, next name would be Leslie. More updates to come right here on My Fox Hurricane.